This is Mr. Anderson for Kellogg Community College. This is part 2 of the Quadratic Formula worksheet for Section 2 of Chapter 8 in Intermediate Algebra, Math 121. What we're first going to do is make sure that our problem, number 7, looks like something that you can take the quadratic formula of. So we're going to move this 72 to the other side. So we're going to have 3x squared plus 50x is equal to, or minus 72 is equal to 0. By subtracting the 72 from both sides, you get this on the right-hand side here, and we're going to set it equal to 0 for the proper format. My a is going to be 3, my b is going to be 50, and my c is going to be negative 72. It's going to be quite a big number here, but you're going to see that things are actually going to work out pretty nicely. This would be a factorable problem, except that you're going to probably spend a lot of time trying to figure out when you multiply 3 times negative 72 a combination to make 50. So here the quadratic formula is a bit of a benefit. Negative 50 plus or minus the square root in parentheses 50 squared minus 4 times a times c. Make sure you have your minus 4 and your negative 72 there, divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 3. So this is negative 50 plus or minus, and if you did this correctly, you would have the square root of 3,364. Don't worry, you're going to, if you square root that, you'll notice that that square root of 3,364 is going to give us a whole number. It's going to give us the number 58. So what you get is 50 plus or minus 58 over 6, which then we can break into two problems. The first problem is going to be negative 50 plus 58 divided by 6, which then gives us a total of 8 over 6, which is then simplifiable to 4/3, or 1 1/3. So this equation, if I set it equal to 0, we'll hit the x-axis at 4/3, or roughly 1 1/3, or 1.3. If I subtract this, negative 50 minus 58, I get negative, hold on, let me write down the negative 50 minus 58 divided by 6. This gives me negative 108, which is divisible by 6, which gives me an answer of negative 18. So again, if I set the equation equal to 0, this will intersect the x-axis at 18, 0. Alright, so let's go take a look at the next problem. The next problem is going to have, okay, let me see here. Alright, the next problem is going to be a SOPS problem. Now the SOPS problem is where you have to take the cubic root of the first term and the second term, so this is x plus 2, and then you're going to apply your SOPS, which is the square of the first plus the opposite product of these two terms, minus 2x, and the square of the second, which makes 4, equals 0. Now what this means is we have to take a look at this middle part here, this trinomial, and this cannot be factored or simplified anymore, so we're going to use the quadratic formula for that. There are no two numbers that multiply to make 4, and I had to make a negative 2. So what we will do is have our negative b. Notice our b is already negative, so this is going to be 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, and in this case it's negative 2 quantity squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a, which is 2 times 1. So if you type this into your calculator correctly, you get 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 12. And we had negative 12 on the other worksheet. Actually, we had positive 12, I think, on the other worksheet. But let's go and talk about this. We're going to take that negative 12 and break it into the square root of 4, the square root of 3, and the square root of negative 1. Using our product rule, we can put all of these together here, and this is going to be 2, this is going to be square root of 3, and this is going to be I. So what we have here is 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3 I divided by 2. And I'm going to split this up into two pieces like I usually do when I have some leftover part of the problem that can't be simplified. So this becomes 1 plus or minus square root of 3 I. Now those are two answers to the problem, but you will have noticed that at the beginning of the problem we had this x plus 2. That also means that we have to take that lone problem that x plus 2 equals 0, like we've done with these three problems here, and we're going to subtract 2 from both sides, and we get x is equal to negative 2. So there are three answers to this problem because this is a cubic. One real answer of negative 2 and the other non-real answers of 1 plus or minus 3i. And if we go to our calculator to investigate this, we can see that on the calculator, hold on, let me grab it here. If we type in our y equals x cubed plus 8, you'll notice that it will only intersect the x-axis at that real solution, which was negative 2. The unreal solutions, the imaginary answers, will not actually intersect the x-axis. Alright, let's go and take a look at problems numbers 9 and 10 for the end of the video here. Now, using problem number 9, it's a little bit of a transitive property again. The transitive property says that if let x equals this, where x is this, that means that if x is equal to this and x is equal to this, well then this is equal to this. Or the transitive property stated if you have a is equal to b and b is equal to c, then a is equal to c. So if x is equal to this equation and then x is equal to 1, well then the equation has to be equal to 1. Now, like we did in the previous problem, problem 3 on the other video, we have to clear the denominator. So the common denominator of x and x plus 3 is just that, x times x plus 3. So we're going to multiply everything by x and x plus 3 to clear the denominator. So in our first fraction, the x's simplify, so I have 2 times the quantity of x plus 3, or 2x plus 6. In my second fraction, the x plus 3 simplify, which leaves me with just 2 times x, or just 2x. Then this leaves me with x times x plus 3 times 1, so the x squared plus 3x is what happens here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move things around a little bit to try to get everything to one side of the equation. In fact, it's going to be easier for me to move things over to the right-hand side because the x squared here is positive. So I'm going to move these two here make a 4x, so if I move that to the other side, that's going to mean that my x squared is going to be 3 minus 4x, which is negative x. Then we're going to move the 6 to the other side as well, which makes a negative 6. And we're going to set that equal to 0. Now it just is a process of doing the quadratic formula. A equals 1, b equals negative 1, and c equals negative 6. We plug this in. Negative negative b is positive 1, because the b was already negative, so the negative of negative 1 is positive 1. Plus or minus the square root of, in our parenthesis, negative 1 squared minus 4 times a times c, which is negative 6. All divided by 2a, which is 2 times 1, or just 2. Now, with this in mind, what you have here is you have this inside radical. If you are to compute this correctly, this is 1 plus or minus the square root of 25. This will make a perfect 25 right there because it's going to be 1 plus 24 all over 2. Now, since this works out to be a whole number answer, we can actually get two rational solutions here. And they'll actually be whole numbers once we're done, because this is 1 plus or minus 5 divided by 2. So my first answer is going to be 1 plus 5 divided by 2, which is the same thing as 6 divided by 2, or 3. So that's one of the places where it crosses the x-axis. Here's another place where it crosses. 1 minus 5 divided by 2, which is going to be negative 4 divided by 2, or an answer of negative 2. So my answers are 3 and negative 2 for problem number 9. For our final problem today, in this worksheet here, we're going to use the quadratic formula and then use decimals to compute the problem. Now, what this means is that we're going to get to a spot and then I'm going to switch to the calculator, and that's going to erase everything on the screen while I use the calculator, so please make sure that you pause the video before I switch to the calculator. So my answer is my A is going to be 3. My b is going to be negative 3, and my c is going to be negative 2. Negative negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, and close that there, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a, or 2 times 3. Now, if you type that into your calculator right, you get 3 plus or minus the square root of 33. This is going to be 33 here, divided by 6. And that's going to be broken into two answers. And unfortunately, I'm going to now move to my calculator and show you what those two answers are. Alright, so please copy this down before, or pause the video here and copy it down before I move to the next step, because this will eliminate what I have on the screen. Okay, so let's go and take a look at our two answers here. Our two answers, I have 3 plus, let me clear this out, 3 plus the square root of 33 divided by 6. So one of my answers is 1.457. I'm going to recall this by clicking the second enter twice, and I'm going to go 3 minus the square root of 33 divided by 6. And so my answer is going to be positive 1.457, or if you round it to 2 decimals, this is 1 46 hundredths. You also are going to have negative 46 hundredths as well as your two answers. Well, thanks for watching.